Okay, I think we're live. Great. Hi everyone, good evening and welcome to iDreamCareer's weekly career classes. Today's topic is what is the National Curriculum Framework, and we have Geeta Vora with us, who's a certified career counselor and has guided over 100 students in selecting the right career and in excelling in their lives. She has completed her bachelor's in engineering and production from Mumbai University and has worked in various companies like Infosys, Larsen Tubro, and Gati, uh, and has helped a lot of students kind of over a period over a span of 11 years, uh, help and training students in various courses. So thank you, and thank you for joining us today, and welcome to iDreamCareer's YouTube channel. Uh,
Thank you so much, Shivank, for a lovely introduction. This is really an interesting topic, a topic that every parent, every teacher, every child is so curious about. I teach a lot of children, and one question they always ask is why the change and what the change. Especially when it comes to 9th standard and 10th standard children, they are so confusing. How does this impact me? And why are they doing this to me? Let it just continue the way it is. So, this discussion today will help I think everyone understand what we are aiming for, whether it be parents, teachers, students. I think anybody and everybody in India should be aware of the kind of change we are getting.
Absolutely. Okay. In fact, the National Curriculum Framework was introduced this year, and it is based on the National Education Policy, which was introduced in 2020. So there seems to be a lot of discrepancy and a lot of, apprehensions about the policy. A lot of students and parents, in fact, are very, very in disarray about what it is and how it works. So I'm over to you. If you could just go on and explain to us what and how the difference comes in.
Okay. So thank you so much once again. So one question that everybody wants to know, why the change? Change is so difficult. I mean, nobody wants to change. I want to be the way I am. I have been doing something for so long. Let me just continue it. But while we still don't want things to change, everyone wants or is complaining about something about our education. One thing definitely is rote learning. So students go to school, after school, they go back home and they have some listed tuitions, wherein the tuition teacher is teaching exactly the same thing that was taught in the school, but now you are by hearting everything. And I've seen children with so much of pressure saying, whatever my teacher has told, I have to write word by word. If I miss a word, I'm not going to get marks. But I feel that's really not nice, because they will learn the answer, they will probably write it the next day, but do they have any kind of learning from it? So this is definitely a disadvantage that we currently have in our system. There is a lot of exam pressure. I have students who have stomach pain the previous day, children who have fever the previous day because next day is the examination. So this is definitely something that we have gone through as children. Some of us have children and they are going through it, and we don't want this to continue. Also, if you see, our syllabus is quite outdated at times. Their learning is very outdated. So if you see a graduate who's coming out, probably does not have any idea or does not have the learnings that gets him directly placed into a company. He needs to relearn things. So that's one more disadvantage of the curriculum we have. We have inadequate assessment styles. So currently, when you see a report card of a child, it talks about marks in different subjects, but it doesn't talk about what else does the child know. So there are some people who are very good at by hearting things, but understand nothing. And there are some people who understand everything and are able to come up with best solutions, but not necessarily can by heart things. So the assessment style that we currently have is not good at all. Because of the assessment rates and all other issues that we have lots of dropout rates. Children who think that education is not for them or they don't understand a specific subject, they have this ill feeling about education. So that's one more issue. Some of us live in the cities. We still have access to, after school tuitions where we can send our children and get them to study, push them to study. But people who don't have access to this will have higher number of students who drop out. Also, the kind of quality you have in schools is so non-uniform, because there is nobody who's checking what the school is doing. We have so much of inequality in access to quality education. So if you would still see, like if there is a parent who is really well to do, they would rather prefer to move to cities for better school education, which overall for a country is not really working. So with all this in mind, also understanding that right now what you've been reading in newspapers is that the birth rate in so many countries is dropping down. It be China, Japan, and Germany, and
Right.
human resource is so much more important. So if India wants to really grow and become a superpower that it is looking at, then we need to work very importantly on our younger age group, on our younger generation, and give them the strength to go and excel. That's the only way India can really become a superpower. So, a question that everyone wants to know: what is this? What is NEP and what is NCF and what is it doing in my life? So, NEP stands for New Education Policy. The policy that we had before this was in 1986. There were some reforms done in 2005 to ensure that education is provided to every single person, but the reforms were not in such a huge amount that we are going to look at, and we will be going through some points today about it. And the new education policy tells you only about what does it look at, what is its long-term view. So it's like if you're doing programming, you have a high-level design and a lower-level design. So new education policy is the high-level design. It says this is the statement we are looking at. If you look at this diagram, it says that's the vision of the society. That's what we want to reach at.
Correct.
That's the vision and purpose of education. That's what new education policy talks about. And but once you have the policy, the high level design, you definitely need the low level design, you need the detailed design, and that's what NCF is doing. The National Curriculum Framework, it will have 10 different modules, and it will talk about every single thing much more in detail in terms of how the curriculum should be. So
Absolutely.
obviously the textbooks will change. Okay, the way we do assessments will change, and they will change for good, for benefit of our children, because the policy is for the children with the core of a policy being betterment of the children. Okay.
Ma'am, before we move forward, just a reminder for our viewers here. If anyone wants to ask any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat box, and we'll be answering them live as we go. Please post all your questions in the chat box, and we'll take them up one by one. Thank you so much. Ma'am, please carry on.
So if you look at this diagram just for one more minute, at the top, we have the new education policy translating vision of the society. As a society, where do we wish to reach? Then we have vision and purpose of education. As we go detail further, then there's aims of school education, which is listed in National Curriculum Framework. So basically, our education should not only be testing your knowledge on how well you can by heart, because whatever you by heart right now may not help you. So what is the aim really? And we are not stopping there. Earlier, currently, even when children go to school, the main aim is to pass or probably get good percentage. Even a 98 or 99 percentage is probably not the most happy thing for some parents. So right now, what is very important is you should have values, you should have knowledge about the subject. All of this is so important, and it becomes a part of the policy. It is listed in the framework, which means that now schools know that this is also a necessary thing in education. It's not only about teaching subjects, but also an overall holistic approach that we need.
Correct.
Accordingly, we have discussed some curricular areas, which we will be seeing in further slides. Okay.
Right.
So one thing that is definitely changing is the new structure. And many parents are very confused about what new structure is. Everyone is so comfortable with 10+2. It has been going for years together. So why the change? Why are we doing all of this? One reason for this is people who live in cities send their children to probably play groups, or sometimes they go as a mother toddler to a place where they are interacting with other children, and they learn something different than what a parent themselves can teach at home.
Correct.
But the total population that we have in cities is much lesser compared to the population that we have across the country, where in such places, access to educative material at a younger age is not available. So in the earlier times, the previous academic structure, if you can see here, children entered into school directly at age 1 and started reading and writing. How boring. Who did want to go? Nobody wanted to go. So you will see parents sending the children to school, but child not going to school. They go somewhere, they play and come. You've seen all of this in movies, and this is ground reality. Children don't want to go to school because in the first few years they have done really nothing, so they don't feel the contact or they don't feel the affinity towards the school. What the new curricular structure is trying to do is enroll your child compulsorily into school at the age of 3. Now, some people will be so sad thinking about this. At 3, my child goes to school. That's so bad. But it's not like punishment, because at 3, they will be taught games, local games. So many people will be talking about, when we were small, we used to play kabaddi and we used to play kho-kho, we used to play all such things. Such kind of games and other local games will be introduced to children at the age of 3. So the first foundational age, so the entire curricular structure is broken down into 4 stages. Foundation stage, which takes care of the first 3 years of Anganwadi, preschool and Balvatika. In cities, you can call it as nursery, junior KG and senior KG. So first 3 years of this, and then first standard and second standard, where progressively the child goes from playway method to few worksheets, learning from all different concepts, learning language skill, learning numerical skills, learning interaction with others. And there is focused attention on the child, because the way it is divided, this is based on how a child learns. A child learns a lot during this initial stages, and if you don't harness this time, if you don't use this time to teach a child, then the development of the child is a little reduced. You can use this age from 3 to 6 and then 6 to 8 to make your child more smarter. So what this foundational stage is doing is reaching out across the country to all kind of places. Now, the new education policy is more focused in making sure that quality education is available across. So foundational stage, which was not earlier available for remote areas, will now be compulsory. Then classes 3 to 5 will be ages 8 to 11. Here, the children will start doing little more structured worksheets. They will start learning more languages, mathematics, and so on. The middle stage will have class 6 to 8 years, where now they're getting more into formal mode of studies. And then we have the secondary stage, which is class 9 to 12. So currently we have at class 10, the school ends, and then probably you'll go for 2 more years. But here, since the child comes into the school at the age of 3 and continues till the age of 18, we have time of 15 years to groom the child. That's one huge impact. Okay. Now, one more thing that new education policy is looking at is a holistic approach. Holistic approach means you should understand the topic well. Instead of just learning it or doing it very mechanically, understand it properly, which means the concepts now will be taught with a different curriculum, with a different style of book, with more worksheets, games, group activities, which will ensure that the concept is clear. Art integration. So making sure that some kind of art activity, whether it be music, play, songwriting, all of that is involved in your curriculum to give you a multifaceted approach. Sport integration. Currently, sports is not compulsory in schools and it is a choice of the children, but there are no marks provided for the same. Here, with holistic approach, sport integration would be compulsory part of the education, because a healthy mind can only be in a healthy body.
Absolutely.
It's completely rooted in the Indian culture, which means instead of just looking at Western side and saying, oh, that's what the other country is doing, information will be provided on how our roots were. What was India even before the British ruled us? How have we grown from there? What can we learn from our past? Only when we can learn from our past can we become better in our future. So that's one more important thing, and it is extremely progressive for the future. So though we are talking about Indian culture, we don't stick there. We also see how we can use this in the future. So now that our first stage starts with foundation, the emphasis goes to ECCE. This is one thing that many teachers, many parents have been feeling too, that, okay, we will send our children to standards in age 3, we will send our children, but who's going to teach them and how they are going to be taught? Right. So currently there are some private institute who give this training, who give this certification, but it is not standardized and the outcomes are not standardized. Now, understanding that at age of 3, children are so moldable that the way you teach them should be very standardized, making sure that we get the best outcomes. So with the emphasis on ECCE, we want to start early, which means at the age of 3, start with the child. Okay. All of the information will be shared in play-way method, where the teacher understands. There could be some slow learners, there could be some fast learners, and the teacher will be in control of the class, making sure that everybody is able to grasp something. Local language becomes an emphasis in ECCE, where the teacher should be able to coordinate with the child in a local language. So currently when children go to a play group, the mode of instruction would be what? What do you think, Shiva?
You're absolutely right. In fact, it is very important for us to make the foundation stronger, so that as we go, the holistic approach, or just like the progressive learning for our student becomes easier as we go.
Currently, when children go to play group, they are given instructions in English. Right. Probably some of them don't understand. Okay, and it's like you went to Japan and somebody's talking in Japanese. You don't understand the language. What are you going to do with it? How comfortable will you feel in such places? So usually in playgroups, you've seen children who cry and parents waiting outside to take their children back. So local language will make them more comfortable with learning, and they would feel like the school is their second home where they have fun too. So absolutely, that relationship is what they want to build up. In the early years, they want children to also come up with critical thinking. So puzzles would help them. Now, children who don't get access to such games at home will not be able to develop enough of critical thinking. Provide fundamental literacy. Again, here also in ECC, the emphasis is that when the child is small, they should be able to communicate their feelings by writing in small words, by being able to say small sentences, being able to understand, comprehend what the person opposite is saying. So all of this will be emphasized in ECCE. That's the foundational stage. Right. The next one is vocational push. Now, it's very sad that India is lagging in this a lot. In Germany, if you see, 55% of the people go for vocational courses. In Germany, it doesn't matter if you're a carpenter or if you're a plumber or you're a tailor. Nobody's looked down upon, because all of these courses are as important. But in India, the thought process is very different. We feel education, which means only professional courses are the most important courses. But now through ECC, through the NEP, New Education Policy, there is definite a vocational push, which means everyone should know some vocational course. Absolutely. This vocational courses start at the middle stage. The middle stage would mean 6th, 7th, and 8th. Okay. The kind of vocational courses could be carpentry, electrical work, metal work, for some example. There could be gardening, there could be tailoring, there could be jewelry designing, it could be anything. This will make sure that there is equal importance to vocational courses. Shivang, if you have seen YouTube videos, have you seen like even people who are working in NASA, all of a sudden they're making their own table?
Oh yeah, so like I think this is especially like in towards the west, it is especially encouraged. Like they have woodworking classes or like just like shop classes that they have where the project is essentially to build something on their own and present it towards the end of the tenure or like the say like the semester for them. So I think it's highly encouraged towards like at least it has been the trend towards at least the west where like these vocational courses are really encouraged like
Yes.
alongside their traditional curriculum. So this will actually help give like a more rounded up outcome to what a student kind of grows up to be or how they kind of choose their career paths from there on.
Definitely. So I feel if vocational courses were available during my schooling days, I would still be an engineer, पर शायद मैं बेहतर engineer बनती. Because then I would
Absolutely.
be actually creating things instead of just by hearting from my curriculum.
Absolutely. And that's why like most of us struggle when it comes to labs in engineering. I started as an engineer myself, and then when I was made to like I started off as an electrical engineer. That was my first degree that I went off to. And then when we were put into a lab to work on actual circuit boards, I was like in a haywire because I had no idea how to work on them. I never worked on a circuit board before, so it kind of threw me off guard for sure.
Yes, I think that this is a very good change because children will already be knowing that they need to work with hands rather than just by heart in an institute. So probably for us, that was a shift. Why are they making me do this? I can just by heart and write an answer. Okay, so one more important thing that there would be for vocational push is bagless days. At least 10 days when children don't carry a heavy bag to school. Instead, they learn something about vocation. Probably there would be experts from other institutes who will come or local experts who will come and teach them a vocational course. This would ensure that children have other alternative pathways that they may look forward to instead of just looking at careers that are open. I mean, engineering, medical, architecture. Obviously, you can go to these, but at least you have alternative pathways in front of you. Regional language becomes a priority in NEP because India is so diverse and there are so many languages. While we look forward, we should not forget that there is so much of information available in regional languages, in Sanskrit, in Tamil. So all of this information, if we can harness, we will be able to develop into better individuals. So how do you make language a priority? First of all, making language learning fun. Currently, language learning is not taught in fun way. They teach you the letters directly, which you really cannot comprehend. And then you want to write answers, which you by heart and write. So with the policy, they're trying to make language fun by introducing games which children can play. There could be apps which make new language learning fun. So you were in Bangalore, Shivang. So when you were there, did you pick up a few words of Kannada yourself?
I did. In fact, like the first word that I learned while I was in Bangalore was Kannada Godilla, which means I don't know how to speak Kannada.
That's a common thing because you want to tell the rickshaw, well, I don't understand what you're saying. So language can be fun, but writing in that language may not be fun initially. So regional language becomes a priority in NEP where they introduce you to multiple language at a younger age, and then they will teach you reading and writing in that language, and slowly you will move to the literature level as well. Right. Foundation education is supposed to be in the local language, but it's not compulsory. It is preferred. Right. 2 languages in preparatory stage. Preparatory stage would be from standard 3 onwards. So 3, 4, 5 is preparatory stage. 2 languages in the middle stage, which means 6 to 8, and 3 languages in secondary stage. Out of the 3 languages in secondary stage, you can pick up any international language also. Now, this is a very strong point again. You can see that a lot of Indians are actually CEOs of so many international companies. So adding that international language helps you move across. So as I said, it's not only about going back to your culture, but it's also about being progressive and being a global citizen.
Right.
Value-based learning, so important. Sometimes I have seen children who are like, what happens if I cheat? But children who cheat or are not knowing the right values probably can't go in a long way. There are some countries which are so strict about how you carry yourself. So, understanding values, not only so that you can go to other countries, also to make India strong ourselves is so important. So, earlier, value based classes were not compulsory, they were a choice and not given that importance as well. But with new education policy, value-based learning will be given a lot of importance. There'll be assessments, there'll be special curriculum for it, making sure that children understand the importance of being truthful, doing what is right, making ethical decisions. Now we know so many things are going wrong in India. But what if we can teach all of this to younger children? They would be able to identify from what is right to what is wrong. So, catching what is wrong is not a policeman's job, but it can be inculcated in a child.
Correct.
Democratic outlook. So, we want children to understand that we are in a democracy. We want them to be responsible for their own actions. Believe in justice, liberty, equality. This is also important. Um, we know we have so many substances of abuse around us, and we write don't smoke on the packet of cigarette, but the child doesn't understand it or doesn't want to read it. But
Correct.
there would be scientific explanations provided so that the child understands why that substance is not good for you, instead of just saying this is going to happen if you have it. And gender sensitivity, that's also such an important thing. So all of this will get covered in value-based learning.
Right.
Digital integration becomes a part of new education policy and will be a part in NCF. Introducing computing skills in standard 6 itself, because computing will be required everywhere. Using digital tools for better learning. Now, the way the society is changing, the way systems are changing, no matter what we do, our printed media will never be able to cope up with the speed of change. So, with digital integration, what will happen is a lot of learning will come from online modules, which schools can run. So, the change in curriculum can be really fast. Now, the same digital tools can be used for assessment, because we want to know holistically how the child is doing. The learning will be across media, which means if I wish to, even currently, if I wish to take a new course, I can take it from anywhere and show that as my credit. So all of this will help our students. Rethinking assessment. Now, this is very, very important. So far, what is happening in school is assessment of learning. I taught you something, you write the paper, I want to know how much you learned. That is definitely a necessary step, but it will be done in a different way now. So the entire curriculum will be reduced. You don't have to buy out so many things, but instead you have to understand the concept. Okay, assessment of learning is important to assess what the child has learned. But there will also be assessment for learning, which means the teacher learns from the assessment based on the marks that the child gets. How is my child performing? Okay, how have the students done? What changes can I get myself so that the students learn better? Assessment as learning. Now, this is one more important point of learning, for learning, as learning. Assessment as learning, which means when you give assessment to children which are not scary, your marks are going to ensure do you get a treat or do you get a hit. So that's not going to be that dangerous. Then children would look at assessment as new learning mechanisms. So all of this is so important. Again, self-assessment. So every child, this is the long perspective. This is what we would like to achieve in the long-term future. The child should self-assess and say, okay, this is what I think I'm doing. Peer assessment, your friends will tell this is how you are doing, and the teacher would assess, which means overall a 360-degree assessment to understand what's your performance, and the assessment should be constructive. Instead of the teacher saying, आपका बच्चा ये करता है, पढ़ता भी नहीं है, marks भी नहीं आ रहा है, It should be, okay, this is what your child is doing, and this is what your child can do to become better, and this is how your child is developing. Your child is a team person, but when the child is alone, he needs to focus more. So a overall assessment will be important, which is more learning focused. So far we were talking only about children. We want to do so much for the children, but the key person here is teacher. So you've had your own sets of teachers, Shivang, and I have had my own. Have you met teachers who only knew that by heart this and come?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So if the new education policy is there and they have this entire big dream of what they want, how they want to run the show, but if the teacher is not trained, it's not going to work. So the focus is teacher. The hero in this entire idea is the teacher. The teacher is the one who needs to be completely associated. So now the courses, the B.Ed course will become a 4-year B.Ed course where you can decide your specialization, but with the specialization, they will also tell you why you are training the child. How do you connect with the child? All of that will be discussed. What kind of values you are looking at. In case you have already done a graduation course, you could be doing a 2-year or a 1-year B.Ed course. And now the beauty of this is earlier B.Ed courses were done only by few colleges. Now the number of teachers we are going to require. One of the best institutes like IITs will also be doing B.Ed courses. So the kind of learning will be at a completely different level.
Right.
The teacher training will be focused on overall development of the child and not just based on academic scores. And every year, the teacher will have to have a continuous learning process so that the teacher knows what are the new processes that are coming up. Revision always helps. Absolutely. Okay, this is what I can do better. There will be sharing between the teachers to say, this is how I'm teaching and it's working. You may try the same too. There will be a lot of focused approach, which means the teachers will not be doing any extra work, no administrative work, no work where teachers feel, why am I doing this? They will be only focused on education. And another important perspective that we are trying to roll out is equality in pay. So whether you are a foundation teacher, a primary teacher, a middle stage teacher, or a secondary teacher, all of them will have equality of pay because all of them are doing an important role.
Right.
There would be short courses for existing teachers also to come up to this level of NEP. Now, an important question, will both change? Yes, in a way, yes, but that will take some time. But let's discuss first what's going to happen. So now the most important part that we need to discuss is the secondary phase, which is 8 to 12. That's one place where parents are like, what's happening, what's happening, what's happening. So the 8 to 12 phase is broken down into two parts, 9th to 12th. 9th and 10th together and 11th and 12th together. So 9th and 10th forms phase 1 and 11th and 12th forms phase 2. In 9th and 10th, you will have 8 areas. All of these areas are compulsory for children. And in every area, you have to do 2 essential courses. Okay. So if you have to take 2 courses in humanities, you have to take 2 courses in mathematical and computing. This is because you will have information on a broader level. Right. What if 9th standard you've already dropped a lot of subjects? You don't have the broader information. So your 2 courses in every single curricular area is compulsory and you have to pass them by the 10th standard. In phase 2, the same 8 curricular areas will continue, but now you don't have to do all. So in 11th and 12th, you can decide any 4. So first you decide any 3 curricular areas, and from every curricular area, select one discipline. So let's say for engineering, from science, I've selected physics. From mathematics and computing, I have taken maths, and probably I like arts too. Let me take music. I've selected physics, maths, and music. Now I have to select one more, which I can select from anywhere. But minimum 3 areas are compulsory. So now the kind of choices you have is too much. Then the question is, if you have taken any kind of subjects, let's say I took history and I took sustainability and climate change, and probably I took yoga, then what kind of graduation degree will I do? Right. So in this case, the secondary education, the education in graduation is also changing. How is it changing? The higher education institute, which means post 12th, will have flexible courses, just like you have in US. You can select your subjects and you can pick up as many as you want to. There
Right.
will be post credits given based on which course you wish to do. So all of these institutes need to become multidisciplinary, which means right now, if you say this college, it's an engineering college, it's a standalone college. But now we want to have institutes which will be called universities, which also have engineering, and probably they have architecture as well, they have design as well. So there is information sharing happening between students also, and children have the flexibility to pick up a course that they like. So multidisciplinary institutes would have it. Okay. All the college which are affiliated to some university right now will have to become autonomous to be able to give degrees. Every university has to become research intensive, which means, which is again where India is currently lagging. We only look at teaching process, but we don't allow children to research. So they have to become research intensive, and quality open distance learning courses will be provided so that children, no matter where they are, they can still go ahead and take different courses. There would be an academic bank of credit which will be created, which we're discussing, wherein you can take any course
Right.
and put that credit into the academic bank of credit ABC, which means when you go and approach any placement agency, or when any company comes to your campus, they can always see how many credits for which courses you have. So you can take one course from one institute and another course from another institute. You can learn from open distance, you can learn from distance learning, you can do online courses, and all of these credits will get accumulated for you and will help you. So we have discussed a lot of points from new education policy and from national curriculum framework. So to repeat, new education policy is telling you the vision of the country. This is what we are looking at. And national curriculum framework will then make a detailed approach for it. High level design, low level design. And then in this low level design, again, we have 10 different modules that will come, which will make it all the more detailed so that people who are creating the books know what to create. We know how to educate teachers, how to train them. All of that will be done now. So what are the impacts we are looking at? We are looking at first impact, growth centric. The new education will not be centric to rote learning, but growth centric. We want India to grow. So which subjects are important? What new concepts are coming? So the curriculum will be updated more frequently.
Right.
Teachers at the core of change. So teachers need to be given the kind of respect they really should have. And only when they get the right pay and right respect, I think they'll be more than happy to come and teach and see the change that they are creating. This is focused on overall development of the child. So it's not only about how you're doing in academic wise, but how are you as a citizen? And we are looking at creating world-class citizens which can move across countries and bring India ahead. Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for all the information that you've been giving us. I hope that's been helpful to our audience here. And thank you to the audience for listening. I hope you've been asking your questions in the chat box. I can see a few people who've messaged us. Jyoti Bansal says, good evening, Jyoti. Unstatus Zone says, hi. I hope you can come in again with your real name. Nikhil Kumar Verma says, GM. Good evening to you too. And Ashutosh Dan has a question, which I'll be asking you right away. And before you do that, if you still have any questions or have questions after the webinar is over, you can just scan the QR code and ask your questions by going to the IDC's web app or the app for Android and iOS. And you can ask your question with the AMA feature, which is the Ask Me Anything feature right there. And you'll be getting answers right away. It is a seamless experience, and I will highly recommend everyone to please check it out. So Ashutosh Dan asks, good afternoon. The new NEP looks good, but whether the existing teaching force, are they equipped with the necessary concept of knowledge for the same or not? Or will there be like a learning curve?
That will definitely be a learning curve. So the current teaching force is not necessarily equipped with understanding or with making contact or making a proper relationship with a student. Okay, so that
Right.
will have to change. What needs to be changed is the entire focus on what teaching is. For that, a framework is being made. Okay, where all the teachers will go through a training once again. It will be a big process, but if that process is not done, it is not helping our children. So all the teachers will go through the training. There will be special courses created. As I mentioned, there'll be short courses for existing teachers to be able to inform them. This is the new curriculum. This is our teaching style now. This is what we want to do. This is our long-term goal, and then realign them to those goals.
Right. Jeshita Hari Krishnan says, thank you, Geeta. Thank you, Jeshita, for attending. Vandana Jain also says, thank you. Gopika Ravte asks, what are the ABCs of the NCF? Like, if you could just like summarize in a sentence. If you could.
Is she asking about that, or is she asking about the academic bank of credits?
I'm guessing the ABC will be that in that case, I guess.
So I'll tell you what it is, Gopika. So academic bank of credit means, so right now, when you give any examination, you get a certification, right? Okay. So your subject selection becomes very restricted. What your college is giving or what your school is giving, only in that you can get certification. Nobody else cares about what extra courses you're doing. With academic bank of credits, what will happen is you can take a course from anywhere. Or if you go to a higher education institute, a college, if they are giving you other courses, you can take any course, and those course credits will be linked to your account. Just like you have a bank account, like that, there'll be an academic bank of credits where it will be linked to your account, so that you can just display this is all that I've done. Otherwise, there is no way for you to tell anyone what kind of courses you've done. So
Right.
this is already happening in US, wherein you can take any course and take credits for that course. So this will help you. I always think about it. If I was going to get credits for anything extra that I did, instead of wasting my time, probably I would take more credits.
Correct.
Make yourself more knowledgeable.
Absolutely. Another question that we have is from Siddharth Jain. He says, hi, Geeta. For my child who is in 8th grade right now, will he still have the 10th board exams under NEP, or is it going to be skipped? Also, given that all the changes are happening very fast, when can we expect them to happen? Like just roll out in
So the first few changes that will happen, the curriculum may not come so quickly for a child who's in 8th standard. Okay, they are working on the curriculum, but what changes can happen first is the kind of examinations that are coming. Instead of all being subjective, some part will become objective. The curriculum will get reduced. They are looking at having board exam twice. Now, some people will feel that is too much. एक बार ही देने में problem होता है. But the idea is, if you give the board examination the first time, okay, and you feel, no, you could have done better than this, you can do one more time. Okay. So the changes that you should see is the curriculum is reduced. The kind of questions asked are more on reasoning based rather than by-hearted answers. And you should see multiple board giving options currently. And as we move ahead in a few more years, you will see more differences. So your child may not get all the benefits by 10th, but probably by the time the child comes in 12th, there will be examinations taken per subject wise in boards, which means whenever you apply to any other institute, you can specify the subjects that you are given boards in. Currently, if you see, if you want to do law, you will give different examination. You want to do hotel management, you will give different examination. Here, you can give subject-wise examinations and apply for those institutes also. So you will see for your child more changes coming in 12th standard, but in 10th standard, boards the size of paper may reduce, the curriculum may reduce. And you may get some more extracurricular activities which your child will be doing.
Got it. For anyone who hasn't asked their question yet, you can please go ahead and ask them in the chat box. We can take a few more before we wrap up. While you do that, please do scan the QR code that you see displayed on your screens right now. It will redirect you to iDreamCareer's web app and the app. And you can just ask a question and check out the platform there and see how intuitive it is, and ask your questions right there on the chat box from our expert counselors. Another question that's important is how fast will this be implemented in schools? There's a lot of uncertainty if 10th will have board exams in 2025. Also, will there be like a compulsory third language till the 10th standard?
First thing, will there be a board and in the 10th standard? With the new education policy, there will be a board in 10th and there will be a board in 12th. They will continue.
Right.
The 10th standard board will have 8 curricular areas, and in everything will have 2 courses. Again, the focus is on understanding. In 12th, you will only take 4 curricular areas with 4 papers, with 4 courses in every curricular area. You will again have an examination. Let me change the word, assessment. Assessment will always be there. Without assessment, we can't go ahead. But the type of assessment will change. Now, the NCF has already come. Every state has to work on the NCF, and the NCF allows flexibility to the states to change the curriculum slightly according to what they feel is the best for them. India is a very diverse country, so some change will take some time, but you will see these changes in small bits and pieces. Okay, so first thing, will there be board examinations? Definitely there will be, but the type of board examinations will change. One quick thing that you can see on YouTube, they take IIT papers, JEE main papers, and they go to MIT, which is supposed to be the best engineering institute, and ask children of second year and third year of engineering to solve questions in physics, chemistry, and maths, and they are not able to solve it. So children in 12th are solving physics, chemistry, maths questions, which children in second and third year of MIT can't solve. So what the NCF is saying is, when you train children in 11th and 12th, you don't have to make them masters already. You want them to get exposed to the depth of a subject, understand physics in depth, but doesn't mean become master. Understand chemistry, whatever you have chosen, understand in depth, so that now you know after 12th what stream I want to go to. So it's giving you in 9th and 10th a broader information about what streams are. In 11th and 12th, you go slightly deeper into it. And the idea is, post that, you will really do your graduation.
Got it.
So the curriculum should reduce, but the assessments will definitely be there. There could be different level of assessing, 2 board examinations to get your grades better, different kind of curriculum, reduced curriculum, all those changes will happen.
Right. And what about the third language though? Will they be compulsory till 10th grade?
As of now, yes, they're looking at a third language to be compulsory, but the level of the language could be different. So they are also looking at one more thing. Every subject can be done at 2 levels, higher level and lower level, so that you don't have to drop out something. Okay, so even if the third language comes, you will have a choice to do it at different levels. One of the language has to be at literature level, is compulsory. So the idea being making language compulsory is because language helps you in a different type of development. Communication is so important no matter where you go. So language becomes one of the backbones of education. It can be made fun though. It doesn't have to be. When people say, why is language compulsory? That is because the way it is taught right now. But if it is taught in a better way, language can be fun as well. Okay, I don't like languages myself, but that was because it was not that taught in a fun way. I loved maths and science.
I can understand. I can imagine. Great. I think we're nearing the end of the webinar. If there's anyone who still wants to ask a question, we can take one more. And while you ask that, I would like to remind once more that you can scan the QR code so that you get redirected to iDreamCareer's web app, where you will be able to look at our Ask Me Anything feature, where you get to ask a question to our expert career counselors and get an answer right away. You will also be able to view the career dashboard and get access to 550 plus careers across various industries and see what is the best fit for your profile. So if there's any other questions that you would like to ask us right away, please do so in the chat box. Otherwise, there's always the Ask Me Anything and feature on the web app from iDreamCareer.
Shivang, I would always recommend parents to, talk to a professional career counselor
Absolutely.
rather than talk to their friends saying, what do you think is the best career right now? Because probably the others don't know properly well.
No, that's a mistake that parents tend to make quite often, is that just going by what seems to be popular or what seems to be like the trend, so to say, going around parents.
My friend's brother's son went there, so that's probably the best career. But probably your child is different than your friend's brother's son.
Absolutely. Great. I guess there are no more questions, so we can wrap up now. So thank you so much, Geeta ma'am, for joining us today and being so insightful and so helpful with all the 1,000 queries that everyone had about NEP and the NCF. I think you've clarified all those, or most of those, if not all of them. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in and listened to us today. Please do go to iDreamCareer's web app and check out the EMA feature. And if in case you had questions which could not be answered live, you'd be able to do so on the web app right away. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you next Saturday at 4 again for another edition of Weekly Career Class. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Have a good day.